Book 13, the Book of Bequests. Introduction. A bequest, wasiyah, or will, is defined as a transfer to come into operation after the testator's death. The testator is called musi, and the legatee or devisee is called musalu, and the executor is called wasi. It is a spiritual testament of a man, enabling him to make up his shortcomings in the worldly life and securing rewards in the hereafter. According to the Sharia, one is entitled to make a will for 1/3 of one's property and not beyond that, so that the rights of the legal heirs are not adversely affected. Again, the principle on which the legality of a testamentary disposition is based being in defiance pro tanto of the rights of heirs, generally the law requires that such disposition should be for the benefit of non-heirs alone. A further reason why a bequest in favor of an heir is not allowed is that it would amount to giving preference to some heirs over others, thus defeating the spirit of the law, which has fixed the portion of each in the inheritance and causing disputes among persons related to one another. If the other heirs consent to a bequest to one of them or to a bequest of more than 1/3 of the estate, the above reasons no longer hold good and the bequest as made will be valid. Abdul Rahim. The Principles of Muhammadan Jurisprudence, pages 311-2. It is, however, preferable and most advisable not to will away the property if the legal heirs are poor, because it manifests benevolence to the heirs who have superior claim to it from the relations in which they stand. Another principle which is observed in case of bequest is that the proprietary right of a legatee in a bequest is established if he accepts it. Chapter 1. One should make it a point to write the will. Ibn Umar, Allah be pleased with them, reported Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, "It is the duty of a Muslim who has something which is to be given as a bequest not to have it for 2 nights without having his will written down regarding it." This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Ubaydullah with the same chain of transmitters, but with a slight variation of words. A hadith like this have been narrated on the authority of Nafi, who based his narrations of the words of Ibn Umar but with a slight variation of words. Salim reported on the authority of his father, Abdullah b. Umar, that he, his father, had heard Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, "It is not proper for a Muslim who has got something to bequeath to spend even 3 nights without having his will written down with him regarding it." Abdullah b. Umar, Allah be pleased with them, said, "Ever since I heard Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, say this, I have not spent a night without having my will written along with me." This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Zuhri with the same chain of transmitters. Chapter 2. Will can be made only for 1/3. Amir b. Sa'd reported on the authority of his father, Sa'd b. Abi Waqqas, Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, visited me in my illness which brought me near death in the year of Hajjat al-Wada, farewell pilgrimage. I said, Allah's Messenger, you can well see the pain with which I am afflicted, and I am a man possessing wealth, and there is none to inherit me except only one daughter. Should I give 2/3 of my property as sadaqah? He said, no. I said, should I give half of my property as sadaqah? He said, no. He, further, said, give 1/3 in charity, and that is quite enough. To leave your heirs rich is better than to leave them poor, begging from people, that you would never incur an expense seeking therewith the pleasure of Allah, but you would be rewarded therefore, even for a morsel of food that you put in the mouth of your wife. I said, Allah's Messenger, would I survive my companions? He, the Holy Prophet, said, if you survive them, then do such a deed by means of which you seek the pleasure of Allah, but you would increase in your status, in religion, and prestige. You may survive so that people would benefit from you, and others would be harmed by you. The Holy Prophet, further said, Allah, complete for my companions their migration, and not cause them to turn back upon their heels. Sa'd b. Caller is, however, unfortunate. Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, felt grief for him as he had died in Mecca. This hadith is narrated on the authority of Zuhri with the same chain of transmitters. Amir b. Sa'd reported from Sa'd b. Abu Waqqas, Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, visited me to inquire after my health. The rest of the hadith is the same as transmitted on the authority of Zuhri, but I did not make mention of the words of Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, in regard to Sa'd b. Khawla except this, that he said, he, the Holy Prophet, did not like death in the land from which I had migrated. Mazab b. Sa'd reported on the authority of his father, I was ailing. I sent message to Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, saying, permit me to give away my property as I like. He refused. I, again, said, permit me to give away half. He, again refused. I, again said, then 1/3. He, the Holy Prophet, observed silence after I had asked permission to give away 1/3. He, the narrator, said, it was then that endowment of 1/3 became permissible. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Simak with the same chain of transmitters. But he did not mention, it was then that 1/3 became permissible. Ibn Sa'd reported his father as saying, Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, visited me during my illness. I said, I am willing away the whole of my property. He said, no. I said, then half? He said, no. I said, should I will away 1/3? He said, yes, and even 1/3 is enough. Humayd b. Abd al-Rahman al-Himyari reported from 3 of the sons of Sa'd, all of whom reported from their father that Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, visited Sa'd as he was ill in Mecca. He, Sa'd, wept. He, the Holy Prophet, said, what makes you weep? He said, I am afraid I may die in the land from where I migrated as Sa'd b. Khawla had died. Thereupon Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, said, O Allah, grant health to Sa'd. O Allah, grant health to Sa'd. He repeated it 3 times. He, Sa'd, said, Allah's Messenger, I own a large property and I have only one daughter as my inheritor. Should I not will away the whole of my property? He, the Holy Prophet, said, no. He said, should I not will away 2/3 of the property? He, the Holy Prophet, said, no. He, Sa'd, again, said, should I not will away half of my property? He said, no. He, Sa'd, said, then 1/3? Thereupon he, the Holy Prophet, said, yes, 1/3, and 1/3 is quite substantial. And what you spend as charity from your property is sadaqah, and flower spending on your family is also sadaqah, and what your wife eats from your property is also sadaqah, and that you leave your heirs well off, or he said, prosperous, is better than to leave them poor and begging from people. He, the Holy Prophet, pointed this with his hands. Humayd b. Abd al-Rahman al-Himri reported on the authority of the 3 of the sons of Sa'd. They said, Sa'd fell ill in Mecca. Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, visited him to inquire after his health. The rest of the hadith is the same. Humayd b. Abd al-Rahman reported this hadith on the authority of 3 of Sa'd's sons. Sa'd fell ill in Mecca and Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, visited him. The rest of the hadith is the same. Ibn Abbas, Allah be pleased with them, said, I wish, if people would reduce from 3rd to 4th part for making a will of their property, for Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, said, so far as the 3rd part is concerned it is quite substantial. In the hadith transmitted on the authority of Waqi, the words are, large or much. Chapter 3, the deceased is entitled to reward for the sadaqah given after his death. Abu Hurairah, Allah be pleased with him, reported that a person said to Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, my father died and left behind property without making any will regarding it. Would he be relieved of the burden of his sin if I give sadaqah on his behalf? He, the Holy Prophet, said, yea. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that a man said to Allah's Apostle, may peace be upon him, my mother died all of a sudden, and I think if she could have the opportunity to speak she would have made a will regarding sadaqah. Will I be entitled to reward if I give charity on her behalf? He, the Holy Prophet, said, yes. Aisha, Allah be pleased with her, reported that a man came to Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, and said, Allah's messenger, my mother died all of a sudden without making any will. I think if she could have the opportunity to speak, she would have made a sadaqah. Would there be any reward for her if I give charity on her behalf? He, the Holy Prophet, said, yes. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Hisham b. Urwa with the same chain of transmitters. Chapter 4, What Reward Man Gets After His Death. Abu Hurairah, Allah be pleased with him, reported Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, as saying, when a man dies, his acts come to an end, but 3, recurring charity, or knowledge, by which people benefit, or a pious son, who prays for him, for the deceased. Ibn Umar reported, Umar acquired a land at Kaaba. He came to Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, and sought his advice in regard to it. He said, Allah's Messenger, I have acquired land in Kaaba. I have never acquired property more valuable for me than this, so what do you command me to do with it? Thereupon he, Allah's apostle, said, if you like, you may keep the corpus intact and give its produce as sadaqah. So Umar gave it as sadaqah, declaring that property must not be sold or inherited or given away as gift. And Umar devoted it to the poor, to the nearest kin, and to the emancipation of slaves, aired in the way of Allah and guests. There is no sin for one who administers it if he eats something from it in a reasonable manner, or if he feeds his friends and does not hoard up goods for himself. He, the narrator, said, I narrated this hadith to Muhammad, but as I reached the words, without hoarding for himself, out of it. He, Muhammad said, without storing the property with a view to becoming rich. Ibn An said, he who read this book, pertaining to Waqf, informed me that in it, the words are, without storing the property with a view to becoming rich. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Ibn An with the same chain of transmitters up to the words, or he may feed the friend with oyat hoarding from it, and he made no mention of what follows. Umar reported, I acquired land from the lands of Kaaba. I came to Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, and said, I have acquired a piece of land. Never have I acquired land more loved by me and more cherished by me than this. The rest of the hadith is the same, but he made no mention of this. I narrated it to Muhammad and what follows. Chapter 6, He who has not anything with him to will away should not do it. Talha b. Musarraf reported, I asked Abdullah b. Abu Author whether Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, had made any will, in regard to his property. He said, no. I said, then why has marking of will been made necessary for the Muslims, or why were they commanded to make will? Thereupon he said, he made the will according to the Book of Allah, the Exalted and Majestic. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Malik b. Mywell with the same chain of transmitters but with a slight variation of words. In the hadith related by Waqi, the words are, I said, how the people have been ordered about the will. And in the hadith of Ibn Umayyah, the words are, how the will has been prescribed for the Muslims, apostrophe. Aisha reported, Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, left neither dinar nor dirham, wealth in the form of cash, nor goats, and sheep, nor camels. And he made no will about anything, in regard to his material possessions, as he had none. This hadith has been narrated on the authority of Amash with the same chain of transmitters. Aswad b. Yazid reported, it was mentioned before Aisha that will had been made, by the Holy Prophet, in favor of Ali, as the Prophet's first caliph, whereupon she said, when did he make will in his favor? I had been providing support to him, to the Holy Prophet, with my chest, or with my lap. He asked for a tray, when he fell in my lap, relaxing his body, and I did not realize that he had breathed his last. When did he make any will in his, Ali's, favor? Said b. Jubair reported that Ibn Abbas said, Thursday, and then said, what is this Thursday? He then wept so much that his tears moistened the pebbles. I said, Ibn Abbas, what is significant about Thursday? He, Ibn Abbas, said, the illness of Allah's Messenger, may peace be upon him, took a serious turn on this day, and he said, "Come to me, so that I should write for you a document that you may not go astray after me." They, the companions around him, disputed, and it is not meet to dispute in the presence of the apostle. They said, "How is Allah's apostle? Has he lost his consciousness? Try to learn from him this point." He, the Holy Prophet, said, "Leave me. I am better in the state than the one in which you are engaged. I make a will about 3 things: turn out the polytheists from the territory of Arabia, show hospitality to the foreign delegations as I used to show them hospitality." He, the narrator, said, he, Ibn Abbas, kept silent on the 3rd point, or he, the narrator, said, "But I forgot that." Said B. Jubair reported from Ibn Abbas that he said, "Thursday, and what about Thursday?" Then tears began to flow until I saw them on his cheeks as if they were the strings of pearls. He, the narrator, said that Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, said, "Bring me a shoulder blade and inkpot, or tablet and inkpot, so that I write for you a document, by following which, you would never go astray." They said, "Allah's messenger, may peace upon him, is in the state of unconsciousness." Ibn Abbas reported, when Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, was about to leave this world, there were persons around him, in his house, Ammar b. al-Khattab being one of them. Allah's apostle, may peace be upon him, said, "Come, I may write for you a document, you would not go astray after that." Thereupon Ammar said, "Verily Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, is deeply afflicted with pain. You have the Quran with you. The Book of Allah is sufficient for us." Those who were present in the house differed. Some of them said, "Bring him the writing material, so that Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, may write a document for you and you would never go astray after him." And some among them said what Ammar had already said. When they indulged in nonsense and began to dispute in the presence of Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, he said, "Get up, and go away." Ubaydullah said, Ibn Abbas used to say, "There was a heavy loss, indeed a heavy loss, that, due to their dispute and noise, Allah's messenger, may peace be upon him, could not write, or dictate, the document for them."